Welcome to Your Next Stop. This is Juliette Hahn. I am a wife, mom, virtual coach, public speaker, and crazy obsessed dog lover. I am so honored to be able to take you into the life of someone that has followed a passion. Every week, I hope you are as inspired as I am. Welcome to Your Next Stop. Hey guys, so welcome to Your Next Stop with Juliette Hahn. I am super pumped about my next guest. Funny enough, she is not one of my Clubhouse connections because I know a lot of the episodes you guys have been listening to, I've been meeting people on Clubhouse, but she is not. She's a mutual friend, and I want to introduce you guys to Carrie Montgomery. Hi.
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me, Juliette. It's so amazing to be here.
I'm so excited. And you know that your last name, Montgomery, I think I told you is my son's first name. So it's like so dear to my heart. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I love her already. Carrie is a transformational coach and a personal brand stylist and strategist. So I can't wait to hear about her story because it is a very, very, very cool one. Okay, Carrie, so I want to hear all about, so I know a little bit about you, but you know how I love to just learn about people as I interview them. So I want to know where you were, how you came up with these titles, how you found, and where you live and all of the great things that encompass you.
Yeah. So, I think I started out really young. Like I wanted to be an entrepreneur my whole life. Like I always had the mind of like creation and trying to see how a product or information can convert into a learning tool or something that could help other people in the world. So I kind of became obsessed with that when I was really young. And I studied a lot of healing techniques and healing modalities. And then I got into film and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to learn how to make things like big movies and things like that. And so I helped produce movies and ran a film union in New Mexico. And the industry wasn't really for me lifestyle wise. It was hard on my body. So I got into sales and marketing and refined my skill set there. But I always, just wished to work for myself. And as I was deep into my sales career, I started coaching and I got into health coaching world and I just saw an opportunity and I started watching like Marie Forleo and Chris Carr and Gabby Bernstein and Mastin Kipp. And I was like, oh my God, look at how all these guys play in this space together. It's really, really interesting. And that was my first like entree into the online marketing space, if you will. And from there, it just kind of like my curiosity led me. Like it's a total journey and you have to take ownership of it.
Right. Okay. So where were you? So where did you go to college? Where did you live at the time that you were, I think you said New Mexico, that's where you were in the film industry, but take us a little bit through there so we can kind of figure out where you were and then.
Well, I have not lived in one place for very long. I'm from New York originally. I was born there and then grew up in London and then Philadelphia. So I was kind of exposed to like a very global life, just given my families and their upbringing and how they raised me. And when I went to college, I went to school first at Skidmore College, but I had broken my back and I couldn't sit in class. So I upped and out of school and I moved to a spiritual community in Findhorn, Scotland. And I lived there to help heal my body and work on myself and just kind of learn another lifestyle. And then I realized I actually really needed a proper college education. So I ended up going to school in Boston and I was studying acting and film production and marketing and PR. And I went to Emerson College and it was like an incredible experience, so many opportunities. And our final semester was in Los Angeles. So I moved to Los Angeles and I was there for about a year and I worked at like New Line Cinema, and I did everything to kind of see where I wanted to be in the industry. And I got this opportunity to help run the film union in New Mexico. And it just like took off. So I moved to New Mexico and I helped really recreate the film industry.
So then that's when you went to New Mexico. And how long were you in New Mexico?
About 3 years. And then I wanted to move back to New York. Okay. So I was like, I want to go back to like where I'm from, And so I made that trip back and I started working for a director, Gary Winnick, and like acting on the side and teaching Pilates and like doing all the things. And that lifestyle was pretty harsh on my body. I was like pushing myself hardcore. And like not partying or anything, but just like literally working from like 6 a.m. until like 9 or 10 at night and just going, you know, hardcore. I was in my late 20s. So I'm like, I just got to do it. Yeah.
Totally. Okay. So then from there, so how did you become so from there, like where did you stop the film career? And then when did you get into the coaching and then figure out, and then like, you know, all of that's those steps?
Yeah, so I've had a health condition that like has gone up and down. And so when I did that really hardcore stint in New York, I had to kind of remove myself because I'd broken my back, like I said earlier, and I started to have some issues with it again. And so I had to remove myself from New York for about like 9 months. And then I came back to New York and I was like, okay, I'm pursuing sales. Like I just need to kind of get in on my career. And I got this opportunity to go work in Hawaii for 6 months on a Ritz-Carlton launch real estate project. So I did that and it was Amazing. An incredible opportunity, but it was during the crash. And so 2008, 2009, and it was like, oh my God. I was like, are you serious? This was going to be so good. So yes. I had to really like, you know, put my tail between my legs, come back. You know, I was an independent contractor, so I had zero security. And so I came back from that opportunity. And we sold 176 million and we didn't get paid because we were financed by Lehman's. So it was like one of those opportunities where like, this was great. And like the global situation is so messed up right now.
Right. I remember 2008 because yes, we were in the city at the time and that was a crazy, crazy time. And it was very uncertain times. I mean, So I hear that. Can I go back one step? Do you mind sharing how you broke your back?
Yeah, so I grew up riding in England, and so every summer as a teenager, I would go back to England and ride with my trainer. So I just wanted to keep that relationship up and like keep those skills up. I had a total love for the Cotswolds, and it was a great like work experience opportunity. I would go live in a bed and breakfast, help run the bed and breakfast, and help keep the horses fit and ride them, and you know just take care of the barn. There was 100 horses, so it was a lot of work, and you know just having that relationship with a woman who trained me as a very young child, and she gave me like balls, if you will. Like I really learned how to like manage and handle situations because of her. So it was really great to be back in her sphere. And one day I was training a horse and he reared up and fell back on top of me. And I walked from the accident. I got back on him. I got back on him just for the discipline of that, but I couldn't really ride because I was in pain. And I started having severe abdominal pain over back pain. And over a year-long period, so over a year-long period, my leg strength started to decline. I started to have like really strange sort of incidences. And then I started like, I couldn't step on my gas pedal. I couldn't sit in a chair very long. And so when finally my parents took me into the doctor, I had a hairline fracture in my spine. And it wasn't. Oh my gosh,
that's crazy.
Yeah, so they put metal rods in my back to restore it, which was probably one of the biggest mistakes of my life, to say yes to that. And in my deep inside, I was like, I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel right. But I didn't know how to say anything else. Like I didn't know how to say no to all of the authority around me. Like my parents, the doctors, my therapist, my school, you know, I was 18 years old, a senior in high school, and everyone's saying, you need to do this. This is going to make you better. And I'm like, it doesn't feel right. I'm like, can I do yoga? Can I eat better? And so it was like this, and, you know, one moment that
I have to say, I want to touch on something that you said, because it is so important. And this is what I want when people listen to these episodes is, in your gut, you felt like it wasn't right, but you were young and you were listening to authority figures, right? I mean, that's what we do. And that's what we do a lot of times also as women, right? We're like, okay, the doctor told us to do this for our child, or the doctor told us to do that. And we follow them because we're like, okay, they are the authority figures. I always tell people, you have to question, right? If you feel like something is not right, you have to question it. And it's, even if it's uncomfortable for a moment, it's going to give you a lifetime of lessons. So that had to be really hard for you to, as you grew older, realize, oh, I wish I listened to my gut then.
Yeah. And the other thing is that I ask the right questions to the wrong people. And that is a really big distinction that I've had to reconcile with myself. Like, I ask the questions, can't I eat better? Can't I do yoga? Can't we try another alternative? And they gave me pain medication, a body cast, and physiotherapy, which the three of those things together don't actually, what I know about health now, after 25 years of studying health and well-being, like that doesn't go together as a successful protocol. So, because you're atrophying at the same time, you're numbing the body at the same time, and then you're saying, get strong. And it's like, that's not the path of like treating the body the best.
Right.
So it's taken me 25 years, actually.
And
I just went through something to reconcile that, to find like, oh, I was out of integrity with myself, and how to come back into integrity with myself and kind of forgive myself for that mistake.
Right, because you said something that was very, very interesting. You said you asked the right questions to the wrong people.
Yeah.
And that is so huge, because you did. So then of course you're going to beat yourself up, because you're like, I knew this, but they didn't listen to me, or they didn't agree with me. And that's a really hard thing to reconcile, as you said. So way to go to get there. And even if it was 25 years later, you still got there. So that is something that we can't just let go, right? We have to, right? Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really hard, man. I tell you.
Wow.
Like it was a full body experience.
I'm sure. Oh my gosh. Okay. So then you were in New York after, because I'm sure with all the broken back, right? As you said, when you're saying that you worked your body hard, that was hard for someone that went through what you did.
And so
you gave yourself a break.
The street, and I'd have I'd have such crazy pain just walking down the street. And there was a morning that I woke up and I was trying to get to teach a Pilates class on the Upper West Side, living on 33rd and 3rd. And I was like, I can't stand up. Like, I literally, my legs gave out when I stood up, getting out of bed that morning at 5 a.m. And I was like, I'm in trouble. Like, I'm actually really in trouble. And I had to call my parents, and they had to come get me. Like, they had to drive down from Maine and get me, because I couldn't help myself at that point. And I was like in and out of a wheelchair for a couple months there.
That is tough. That's tough. But then you also listened to your body. You were like, okay, I need a break. And so that's another thing, that we need to listen to our body. We need to listen to our guts. We need to do those things, because if we don't, it's just going to spiral more out of control. And it's so important for that intuitive, gut check, right? Okay. Does this feel right? So, again, you called your parents and you figured it out. So you've had some living, that you have done. So then you went to Hawaii. That got closed down. And then, so where did you go from that?
Okay, so I came back to New York, and I actually went to integrative nutrition school. So it was like one of the last rounds of them having a live program in New York City. It was like awesome. So I was living on 89th and Madison, and, walking across Central Park, and it was like incredible. And, I was really like deep in it. And during that process, I got diagnosed with Lyme disease, and it was like, whoa, what is going on? And I was like, oh my God, I got to figure this out. And so I went into a 1-year treatment of that, and it was really successful. And I had a client, a naturopath that then became a client, but she was like, the body so differently than anyone. Like, I've never seen anyone understand the body without being a doctor. Like, you need to go to nutrition school. You need to work for these supplement companies. Like, you can really help people with this. And so I went to nutrition school with the desire to go work for a nutrition company so that I could teach doctors lifestyle medicine. And so that's what I did. And I did that for almost 5 years. And I started a health coaching practice. And I, helped teach doctors how to make money in their practice using supplementation and lifestyle therapy, and having health coaches inside their practices. And then I was also the health coach with them too. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. And so I use a homeopath. I am like totally right up my alley, because I go to my homeopath before I go to a traditional doctor. It's been probably now 14 years that I have. My whole family is same. We have our doctors, but I always call my homeopath like, hey, what do you think here? And it's so amazing that you totally, right? And that you went and then got and taught them. So you did that in 5 years. And so you were in New York at that time?
I was in New York. During the Lyme treatment, I moved out of the city to Rye. I actually lived in my friend's guest house. The treatment was really expensive, so I needed to have like a little bit more of a serene environment and just kind of be chill. But my mission was to work for these supplement companies, and I went and I did it and had a great run. It was awesome. And in that process, go ahead.
I was going to say, did they know, was it like long-term Lyme that you had that came out? Because I'm also familiar with Lyme. Or did they think it was something that was, a more of a new diagnosis?
They're not totally sure. Like, it's a little bit of a gray area for me. They think that like some of my health stuff has been there. And honestly, Lyme is a really tricky disease. And yes. I have a lot of opinions about it. I have a lot of experience with it. I think that, people who suffer from it can fall victim to the system of Lyme and how to be treated. I don't think that the therapies are that great. To be honest, I think they can really harm the body. And it's, like if you look at what the CDC says, no, I didn't have Lyme. If you look at what a Lyme literate doctor who I paid thousands of dollars to, I totally had Lyme, right? So I'm really clear about that dichotomy. And now I just really have to listen to my body, and I have to understand my immune system. I really have to I don't treat myself for Lyme. I say that I have had Lyme, but I am not like an active Lyme person. It's a really slippery slope. And I think it can be really detrimental for your mental health.
Yeah. And it is just like what you said. The CDC said one thing and the doctors say another thing. And that's what because we lived in Connecticut for many years, and we have a house that we are at now in Long Island at the beach, and Lyme is very prevalent. And there was times where, when we were in the city and we would come out here in the summer, and I remember I would get myself like, oh my gosh, the kids, I would check them every night, and because I have had family members that have had pretty severe Lyme. And so I absolutely understand what you're saying. And as my one son was bit, every time I find a tick, I send it in to get it tested. And there was one time that it was positive, and the route that we had to go was so insane, and the things that they wanted to do. And I was like, wait a second. And that's another reason why I love homeopathy, because it is another way to kind of look at things. So I love that you, I really respect that you said that, because it's true. It's one of those very tricky things that in the traditional world, you're like, well, wait a second, I need to question this.
Yeah, you really do, because it's one, who's making money off of it, and two, what's an okay protocol to how to treat your body. And I would never do what I did 11 years ago to my body, or 12 years ago to my body, ever again. I would never say yes to that. Right. Ever. It was awful. Right. It was an awful experience.
So again, you
and I don't know, I still have
so you learned another
stuff, right? I still have health stuff, right? After I was working, when I became an entrepreneur, was when I had gone through leaving my job, moving to Maine. I left New York City because I was like, my body isn't a full on, no, I had neurological conditions that were saying my body was collapsing. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to go live in a more natural environment. And I went and I lived in Maine, and I said yes to what I learned about the coaching world and building a business, and the skills that I had, from production to styling to running a business to sales and marketing. I had all these skills, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this. I have to do this. And I did Marie Forleo's B School, and I jumped on a lot of bandwagons with other people. I created a local mastermind in Maine and created a great community of women there, where we would meet every month so that we could talk about our businesses, our challenges, the obstacles that we were having, and how to overcome them. And that kind of community really helped me stay focused on the success that I wanted to have, and also to look at what lifestyle is really right for me. And there were still some more medical traumas that came along in the process. I almost died my first year of business, and it was okay, here we go. This is going to be fun. But, you just sort of like, you recover.
Oh my gosh.
And you have, yeah. All
right.
Stay tuned for a quick message from my sponsor.
Hi, my name is Shari Hodis, and I'm the president of Aura Limited, a proud all-women-owned brand marketing and global sourcing agency. Simply put, we provide fashion-forward swag for any and all of your branding needs. Please visit us at www.auralimitedspelledout.com.
So can I ask you what that story, if it's a short story, because then I want you to get into your business and where you are now, but like, how did you almost die? I have to ask. I can't just let that go.
Yeah. So after I had the back surgery, I started having I would hemorrhage every cycle. And so I'd bleed a lot. And it became problematic. I'd end up in the hospital a lot. I'd have really severe pain. I had endometriosis, I had fibroids. So they would go in and do surgery to kind of cure that, or burn it, basically cauterize it, and then take out the fibroids. So I had about 9 surgeries to remove the endometriosis. And when I moved to Maine, I was definitely struggling with my cycle, and but I just I wanted to have kids, right? So I was I'm going to hold on to my uterus. I just want to be able to have kids. And I held on to it a little bit too long. And they said, I was hemorrhaging out, and I was bleeding like murder. And I was admitted to the hospital. They couldn't stop the bleeding. And they said, it's time to remove your organ, or else you're going to die tomorrow. You're done.
Oh, my. So you've had some stuff. I mean, you've had a lot of stuff that has happened to you throughout your life that you've overcome.
Yeah, there's.
You really have. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, to say the least. You really have. Wow. So, that's, again, as a woman, that had to have been, again, another journey that you had to, okay, so now I don't have my uterus. This is the plan that I thought my life was going to be. This was the next step.
I'm going to move to Maine. I'm going to meet a man. I'm going to have kids. I'm just going to, run a really chill business from the internet. It's going to be cool. And the complete opposite happens. So in the recovery of that, so here's the bonus. In the recovery of that, I woke up to okay, it's been 20 years since I had my first surgery. I need to be super creative. I just need to have this creative expression. And so coaching was great, but it didn't have this other creative aspect that I needed to play with. And so I started styling clients. I started styling people, and it really quickly turned into a thing. And so I was styling Christiane Northrup for Oprah, and then I got a regular magazine gig. So I was doing monthly styling shoots. So I started to meet the community there in Maine. And then I just started getting clients around, and I started to see a pattern around body image and connection to the body, self-esteem. And from there, I created a program, Create Your Soul Style, which is actually going to be coming out as the live version will be something else called Quantum Styling. And it's really about your connection to your body, how you express your style, really empowering yourself using a system I created called Somatic Dressing to embody yourself daily. So to make your choices and how you put clothing on instead of objectifying your body. Because to be honest, the relationship with my body is pretty tough. It's not been an easy journey. And it might look good, but it feels fucking horrible.
Wow. Oh my God. I love that you just said that. And I love how you pivoted that. That is the one thing that you said about the creativeness, because that is so what I am, that's what I'm trying to teach women, that when you tap into your creative, and it doesn't have to be I'm an artist or this or that. There's many different things about a creative. So when you just said that, literally my hair on my arm stood up, because I was doing health and fitness coaching, and I realized, I wasn't tapping into my creative. So I started this podcast, and I started the podcast a year ago, November 2019. And it is just morphed into this thing. And I used to say to myself, I wasn't creative. I'm an athlete. I played college sports. I'm an athlete. I was told at a young age that there was some point that I wasn't creative. So just stick with your athleticism. But I realized, oh my gosh, I am so creative. So I am creating an online course actually to do that, to help the woman tap into their passion and be able to create a business or or a side hustle or something, because it is so important. And so I love that you said that you still loved what you were doing, but you needed that creative of outlet. And so okay. And so then you went big. And so that's where you were doing, and then you created all these different things. So tell us a little bit more about that and where people can find you, because I'm so fascinated with that. I love it.
Yeah, so I can be found at carriemontgomery.com. So I am like an image and brand consultant, right? I help people improve their image to the outside world, but I also help them feel good on the inside. So I do that from a business and branding perspective, brand strategy. Some clients, like I help them build their whole entire structure of their business and, who they're targeting to, what that company looks like. And, I work with doctors a lot that are trying to create alternative forms of income. So I might help them set up a consulting practice or some sort of info product that they can monetize differently as things sort of change in the medical world. I also work with coaches, speakers, authors, teaching them how to not only feel confident and comfortable about their work, but also how to show up and have that presence. So a lot of it turns out to be about boundaries and relationships, building your network, feeling an internal connection to yourself, and understanding what your body's needs are. So a lot of my coaching, yes, I style people and I make them look good, but the coaching is actually a part where we go in and we understand what's your body saying to you? What is that part of you that wants to speak that you're not letting it have its voice? Because the more you suppress that, that's actually going to come out and explode. And I can tell you from every single illness that I've been through, I have experienced there was a part of myself that was being suppressed. And as I've worked through the healing, and there'll be a book coming out, as I've worked through the healing of that, I found the voice of what that illness was telling me, what was really going on. I live in Ibiza, Spain now. I moved here about 2.5 years ago. I was in about my third launch cycle of my course, and I got burnt out. I got fully whoa, this is just intense work. I didn't know how hard it would be when I started, and I needed to recalibrate. And so my ex from New York City called, and he lives in Ibiza, and he was like, just come on vacation. You need to get away. We hadn't seen each other. I think it'd been 5 or 6 years, or maybe 7 years. I don't know. It'd been a while. And so right. I hopped on a plane. It was my birthday. I did a yoga retreat. I did a quantum healing. My full body said, you need to move here. It was I've never had a full body yes. And that was a full body yes. And I was all right, I'm moving, I'm doing it. I'm just going to do it. And I literally came home from that vacation, announced to my, I announced to my community that I was leaving. I did a webinar, hey guys, come to this training. I have some things to share, and just want to show you the process of everything that happened. And I've moved a lot, right? I've lived in a lot of places, and getting visas in different places, especially independently, can be very difficult. I literally applied for it. Nothing has been so easy. I had bumped into a guy that I used to date, kind of in friends when I was in grade school, high school in Philadelphia, right? And we were in Maine. And so I bumped into him before I went on vacation. And I was like, oh, I'm going to Spain. Da, da, da. He's like, oh, we're moving there in a couple weeks. I was like, oh, cool. But we were going to miss each other. I was like, oh, cool. Have fun. And then I was like, I messaged him, I'm like, hey, I'm moving. I'm like, what did you do for the visa? He literally white gloved me through the whole entire process, gave me every contact I needed, anything that I needed to know. I had this resource, which it just, there's nothing like a white glove service, to take you through the journey so that you just don't have to stress as much, even though there were parts of it that were stressful. Got my dog all set up, my little dog, Nikita. We moved 3 months later. And I a week before, I'd already let go of my apartment in Maine, and I was kind of on this 1 month journey in the East Coast trying to wrap things out. And I was in this week before I was leaving, I was like, God, I don't have a place to live yet. That's gotta come through. I want that to happen. And I was searching for stuff, and I was I want to be on the ground to see stuff. And my friend texts me literally in that moment. She's like, hey, my friend's looking for someone to rent. They live in Amsterdam, but they need someone in the apartment, especially when they're not there. So they want someone there all the time. Do you want to rent? And I was like, she's like, have you found a place? And I was like, no. And it was like right on the water. And like, it worked out so well. So smooth. And then same thing with buying a car. I was like, I need a new client to buy this car. I need to buy it in cash. I need to buy it by like this date because I need to get a parking spot by this date. Like all of these things. And it just boom, 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 boom. And it happened.
And don't you love when that happens like that? It is like it was meant to be. So I have to ask, are you still with the guy? Like were you?
Oh, we were never together. No.
Right.
We were not. We never got together for me to be. No. We're just. He's like my dearest friend. Yeah.
Friends.
No.
Got it. Which is that's so special. Oh my gosh, Carrie, I have to say, I love learning about this. Not that you need to dive into that, but I love that. And I love your story and I love how you got where you are. And I think it's so important for women. I mean, to hear you had some roads, you've had some really big ups and you've had some really big downs. But what you did is you always listened to your intuition and listened to yourself. And that's where you got where you are. And so I just applaud you. I am so psyched that Christina put us in touch because you are a remarkable woman. And I cannot wait to see, your journey and to follow you and to stay connected to you because you're doing big things. And I love it. So thank you so much for joining Your Next Stop.
Thank you so much, Juliet. It was such a pleasure. Thank you for everyone for listening.
And I have to ask one question. So, my podcast used to be called It used to be called Next Stop Crazy Town. So what does Crazy Town mean to you? Mm-hmm. Like if someone says Crazy Town, what do you think of?
I actually think of Harlem. I don't know why. I literally, I put myself, back in New York City trying to get to, Connecticut to get to see my girlfriend in Greenwich. And I'm, getting on the train and I'm just sort of, in the mayhem. And there's just a lot going on. And I need to get out of the city.
Oh, my God. I love that.
Yeah.
And I've done that too. So, because I used to live in New York City too. So that makes me laugh so hard. So Crazy Town to me is my energy, my family's energy, my dog's energy. It's very endearing to me, but that makes me chuckle because New York City is so endearing to me. So I love that it brings, I know it's like a hustle, that's the energy of New York City and all of it. So again, thank you again so much for joining us. And guys, if you liked what you hear, please rate and review. Follow Carrie at carriemontgomery.com because you guys, she's doing some stuff. If you heard, she's dropping a book soon too. It is one that you want to follow because she's learned some stuff and she is teaching us. And that is what being an entrepreneur is. But that's also being a strong, independent person is knowing what you're good at and then sharing it with others. So Carrie, again, thank you so much.
I hope you liked this episode of Your Next Stop. Please subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and join in each week.